how do you think animation will like evolve in the next few years? Like, what is the future of animation?
So I think with the advent of the OTT platforms like Netflix, Amazon, I think increasingly we are seeing that animation is moving away from the space of kids or exclusively from the space of kids. That a lot of adult animation is also now being considered and actively being pitched because eh, animation is also moving to a all audience format as opposed to just for kids, and that's a great thing and it's a great direction that I where we are, of course, it is the golden era of content create for content creators any which ways. And I think moving forward, it's just going to get better from here.
Right.
So that is important. Yeah.
Yeah, your first film, feature film, Toonpur Ka Superhero, was the first Indian live action animation combo film. So I'm not sure if we can call it augmented reality. I don't know if it's the correct word.
That was the first live action and 3D animation film. There was a one which was done in 2D animation,
Right.
but the 3D animation one, it was the first one.
Okay. Okay. So, how different and challenging was the entire shoot, provided that you had to combine both the aspects of filmmaking? And how
Right.
difficult was it to convince the producers back in 2010 when
Right.
animation was not booming in such a fashion? So, how did you convince the producers to invest in such a project?
Right. So essentially, to be honest, at that time, the real challenge was when I wrote the script, most of the animation studios said this cannot be done in India. That was a key challenge. That people told me, no, it cannot be done in India, and you need to look at doing it abroad. Some people said you're foolish. Some people said, are you crazy? You're attempting this. I said, well, I'm going to attempt it. That's not a problem. So when I pitched it to Ajay Devgan and to Kajol, they immediately instantly said yes because I had done a lot of prep on the pre-production. The good thing was that I had done 30-second commercials, I had done 1 minute commercials using animation, live action animation. So I already had experience of doing great quality animation in a 30-second 1 minute format, and all that it needed was to be extrapolated, which is essentially more time and lot larger team. And so I have to actually, the key challenge of Tumpur was to actually train the team. And so when we hired the studios, I would go there and I would do month-long workshops with them to train them on what this film format is, and how we are going to, what is the performance key, how we're going to create the animation, and I would actually physically draw things for them, and the entire team would sit for those workshops, and we would actually work things out that
And how adaptive were Ajay Devgan and Kajol, given that it was a new space for them to venture into?
way. So initially, I'll be honest with you, because Ajay had a much larger role. So Ajay was a he was very receptive. He was a great guy to work with. He never really he had a lot of anxiety about what the film is going to be all about and how it's going to be, because he was shooting against green screen, and I was telling him, okay, look at that stand, and that stand is supposed to be so and so character. So he didn't know what he was acting against because it was all green,
Right.
and somehow he had to believe that the whole screen will magically then turn into a different world altogether. So he was very receptive, and he was very wary as well initially, and so therefore every morning initially he would call me to his vanity van and say, Kirit, what are we doing today? And can you explain to me what the scene is? So I had to take him to the storyboards, I had to take him through other things, and take things out, and we can do that. The key challenge was, so he would call me to his vanity van every morning. Ajay would call me to his vanity van in the morning, every morning before we come and shoot. And what are we shooting? And the first 1 week, we were just, trying to do. I was just trying to get him to be more comfortable in that whole space. And then eventually, once once I shot with him a few days, and the tests started to come in, he got great comfort, and then therefore, subsequently, it was a breeze.
Great.
And Kajol's role came in much later because I'd already shot with Ajay for many days. So I believe Kajol must have got a lot of feedback from Ajay that it's working out well. Don't worry, it's not a concern. And so she came in and she just followed instructions, and we just did the shots.
Right. So she was already primed about the entire shooting process from
Yeah, and because she had a smaller role as well in the
yeah.
film.
But thereafter, you ventured into the documentary of Syed Mirza, the leftist Sufi, and your feature film Tea for Taj Mahal, both of which were absolutely far away from animation. So, what pushed you to venture into this space? And because this involved a lot of research and interviews for the documentary, and also for the shoot in the rural India for the Tea for Taj Mahal. So, how challenging were these aspects of filmmaking?
So, see, I consider myself as a storyteller. I'm genre agnostic. I don't see myself as oh, I'm an animation filmmaker, therefore I'll not do this. In fact, I get pretty bored of genres and formats, right? So I kind of keep trying different things. So I've done short films, I've done ad films, and I've done documentaries, and I've done public service films. So everything, pretty much everything. And it's about the story that is important for me.
Mhm.
Saeed Mirza, I was very compelled when I met the man. I thought he was incredibly charismatic, and I thought it's a story that needs to be told. And therefore, I went into that documentary and I said, I want to make a documentary on this. At that time, there was no avenues to sell the film as well. But I said, I want to make this film any which ways. It doesn't really matter. So that was one. Then, as far as the Teepat Admin is concerned, you're absolutely right. I loved the story. The story was already there in a one pager. I loved the story. But I said, I'm not empowered to write the screenplay for this. The only way I can write the screenplay is to actually spend time in the actual locations and meet those people, get inspiration from them, get an understanding of the milieu and the culture of the village. And then write the story and then come back and then prep for the film and then go back and shoot. And so that's exactly what happened. That I made about 2 or 3 trips to UP along with my writer,
Mhm.
and we co-wrote the screenplay, and we found the characters over there, we found the issues over there, we found all the problems over there, um, and we incorporated that in the screenplay itself. So the entire drama of Deepa Tajmal actually played out uh, only when we went there, we discovered what the real issues are and to try to make the film as authentic as possible. It's not possible to do it sitting in Mumbai.
So, so you mentioned that you found out a lot of pointers from your research about the issues already
Yeah.
prevalent in UP. So, were there any issues which you felt that you wanted to incorporate in the film but couldn't because of probably cinematic reasons, or for any other reason for that matter?
So there was a caste issue, which is the predominant issue. Now that is not something that I wanted to really attempt or really do in there. The thing is that because I had seen so many films that were done with caste, and they really don't really give a sense of. They don't really seem to, they seem repetitive in their. They seem repetitive in their narrative. So I wanted to make it a fresh narrative. Having said that, the protagonist is from a lower caste, and the only way the audience knows is by the virtue of his surname, which is Pal.
Mm,
So his name is Bansi Pal. So Pal is basically essentially a Dalit kind of a thing,
mm,
a surname. And so we made sure that at least that much of a layer we had in the script, but we didn't want to give it like a cast angle to the whole thing because that was spiraling the whole script out of control and it was creating a lot more other issues in the script. And the story was very simple. It was about a man wanting to bring literacy into his village, this uneducated lower caste man wanting to bring in literacy into his village and how he goes about it through his unique social enterprise. And we didn't want to get into the caste angle, so we were pretty clear about that. Having said that, as I told you, the caste angle is there. It plays out in a very subtle way.
it's underlying in the entire narrative.
Yeah. But it's very, very subtle. It's very veiled because
Right.
there are too many films being done on that already. And I feel that's another film just harping about caste issues and caste divisiveness. It's just about despondency and it is about empowerment. That's it.
Right.
Let's take the caste angle out. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. While scrolling your IMDb profile, I also came across that you were the animation voice director for Hum Tum. So I'm not pretty sure about what this role means, because I have heard about the animation director, but what does actually an animation voice director do?
The animation voice direction essentially was it was kind of a wild thing that just came to me. I mean, in terms of the offer, just came to me one day, and they said that we want you to direct the voices because the voices that go along with the animated character need to be more animated. They need to be a lot more vibrant. So
Mhm.
there is a way of speaking and there's a manner of speech that the voice needs to be there. It needs to have a lot more punctuation, a lot more inflections, a lot more emphasis on certain words, and you have to also visualize the acting when you are actually doing that. And uh, the idea is that you will know how important it is when you see the American animation films of their voice modulation is so fine. When you see the behind the scenes and you see these actors come in there in front of the mic and they do make all kind of faces and they kind of do all kind of things. So animation voice direction is a very very important part because 50% of the impact is the voice and 50% is actually the animation itself. So I got that opportunity and I said, okay, let me take it. And so I did the voice selection and that's it. It was interesting. It was a 2 day job, not too much.
So you basically help the uh, voiceover breathe life into them.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. Okay.
yes.
Great.
Wasn't one of my important projects at that time, but it was an important film, but it was something that came
Yeah.
along with the job.
Actually, this designation caught my eye a lot more.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
that's why I wanted to
yeah.
ask about this. So, in 2020, your company, Climb Media, released a series of animated shorts on social issues, namely Pravasi, Samvad, Safar, in several regional languages, with voiceovers from Tapsi Pannu, Dia Mirza, Nandita Das, Tiska Chopra, among many others. So, what was the thought behind this conscious decision of releasing in different languages?
So first is whatever was happening in the country was very painful. It is very divisive. The atmosphere has become very vitiated and divisive when there are certain groups and communities of people that are actively being pursued and being ostracized and being toned down. And it's very, very disturbing. And we couldn't go out on the streets and protest, or we couldn't really do anything. So it really came from a sense of despondency because of the fact that you were locked in the house and you had uh, you know, had no recourse but to look at those millions of migrants walking and you had to see a lot of nonsense going on in this country. So the idea was to kind of make these films. Initially, the idea was to make these films. Then I said, okay, when I make these films, I also want it to be disseminated. So I took a chance and I called Aptapsi and I told her, listen, this is what it is. And I sent her the film. And she instantly said, yes, I will give my voice to it. Now, Tapsi has 27 million followers, and she's the right person because she is a person with the heart in the right place. So immediately it went viral, right? And then subsequently the idea came in that if we can use celebrities to use and it's a great cause, so everybody can be a partner in it, and we can use celebrities and leverage the celebrities in their own way in terms of their following to actually spread the message across to as many people in as many languages.
Right.
And so therefore, when a Samvad or a Safar gets released, it instantly in one day it reaches out to about 70, 80 million people
Hmm.
by the virtue of the fact that we have so many, they have so many followers collectively. Like Dia Mirza has about maybe 15, 20 million followers. So each one of them have their own base and fan following. Tiska has their own following.
Hmm.
Nandita Das has their own following. So on and so forth. Everybody has their own following, and it sort of immediately reaches out so many more people, and the message goes through.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
So
to penetrate this
yeah,
entire
yeah,
concept to a larger set of people was the main idea,
yes, yes,
right?
yes.
And
And the important part was that to look at it from a perspective that the films had to be really worthy for the actors to say, okay, you know what, we will contribute to the film. So the film had to be of a great quality in
right.
terms of execution. So we're glad that we had instant approval from the actors. Everybody was very more than happy to get in because A, they saw the cause coming from a great place, not from a place of trying to uh, uh, it came from a great place in terms of the fact that it was for an altruistic cause to kind of help the nation and help the people and create awareness of certain things that are happening wrong in this country, and for the country to grow a heart. Right now, we lack empathy as a nation.
Absolutely.
That's what.
So in the current times when the pandemic is going on and a lot of plans have been at halt for a long while right now. So what are currently your future plans in terms of filmmaking in the next few months at least?
So we've been actively pitching a feature film, and we've locked the cast as well.
Mhm.
And we're in the process of locking a producer as well. But things are a bit slow. So that is one. The second thing is there's another feature film that I am on the verge of signing as the director. So there are two projects that are going on the feature film front. There are three other short films that I'm making right now. One is called Samvidhan. Samvidhan is about the Constitution of India, and I'm making an animation short film of that.
Okay.
Because again, to to create awareness about the rights that the people have, because that's another thing that we are seeing is the erosion of fundamental rights of people. We're seeing some great erosion in that, and therefore people are not aware that they have the right freedom to speech and equality and justice. All these things are being taken for granted, and particularly the poorer people. So I want to create a defining film that actually talks about the great constitution and the preamble. What are the salient features of the preamble, and what does it mean for the people, and what are their rights? So I'm making a film on that. I'm making a film on the role of media, which again has been excruciatingly painful in recent times. So I'm making a short film on that. Then I'm making a film on, it's called Janani. It's on women. It's about the role of women in our culture and how that has been subverted and hijacked by a bunch of hoodlums and who are justifying rape and who are
Right.
getting away with it. So I thought these three issues were very, very pertinent and important for the nation to, So I'm trying to create a series of films, and in that I'm working with very talented artists from across India who are doing the animation for the films. So we've got some of the scripts are being written by me, some are being written by some very important people from the advertising industry, as well as Safar, for example, the one on the migrants is written by Anshu Gupta, who's a Maxence Award winner.
Mhm.
Uh, and he's also the founder of Gold, which is one of the largest NGOs in India. So the idea is that we have an interesting kind of mix of three more short films coming in, um, and of course ad films go on. So ad films that is something that gets you with yes.
Yeah. But you mentioned the importance of OTT in the animation space in the near future. So have you tried collaborating with different OTTs, or do you have any plans of collaborating with them?
So I'll be honest with you, I'm not looking at animation per se specifically. I'm looking at what's a great story to tell. I'll be very honest with you. I'm looking at it from that perspective. I'm not looking at, oh, I want to do something in animation just because there's an opportunity there. If I have a great story, then I will tell it. Whether then it deserves to be told in animation or live action, I don't know. The story decides that. So at this point, no, we're not pitching anything to the OTT platforms. Having said that, there's a couple of animation feature films that we are pitching, the series we are pitching, uh, but we're not really finding too much success in that because we're spread out too thin and there's less. So that's not really a priority in terms of course, in the sense that we're actively pitching it, but really the ones that we're close to getting through are the live action feature films. That's the one that I'm more keen on pushing at this point.
Great. All the best for the next few ventures of yours.
My
And
my
lastly,
pleasure.
lastly, seeing your own son Kabir, founder of our very own Explosion Pictures, finding a space for himself in the short film space. So, how do you think he has evolved over the years as a filmmaker?
So of course, Kabir is extremely hardworking. He's very talented, and he's a very good listener as well, for most part. And I think he has a great ability to get people together. That's his remarkable ability to get to kind of dynamically gather energy and to propel his projects. and with little or no budget sometimes.
Right.
And so he's been really, really good at that. Um, he obviously lacks experience in many areas and he's working on it. And the only way to go about it is to actually make more and more films and to learn from your mistakes. Uh, but obviously, he's very, very young. And I think for what he has achieved at his age, I think I'm pretty proud of it. Uh, and But he has a long way to go as well. So we do insist, uh, that he does go to film school. That whatever he knows right now is not necessarily enough for him to be able to make it to the level that he potentially reach. So yes, he has some distance to travel, but so far so good. We just hope that he keeps taking the right decisions for himself and his life, and I wish him all the best, and I'll be there for him for sure.
Yeah. So does he come to you for consultation in terms of scripting, in terms of filmmaking, in other creative processes?
Yeah, so the conversation's always on, right? At home, right? It's not just like him consulting me. I'm also consulting him on many things. He has also given me his opinion on many other things. And sometimes I need some resources, so he's very resourceful and he gets me some resources. Sometimes I give him some resources. It's not a problem at all. So we're right now. I wouldn't say we're a team because he has a separate independent team. But yes, we are constantly consulting each other. Not too often, but enough for us to kind of be a support for each other. And the conversations at home are about film. So that helps a lot for him, for me, for everybody. To kind of say, okay, we have some common interest and we have common goals, and we're constantly moving towards it. He has an opinion on my scripts, and I have an opinion on his scripts. He may take it, I may take it, I may not take it. Either way, we're perfectly that way. We've given ourselves the independence and the freedom to choose to do what we want to do. So he has that. He has that complete space and freedom to do what he wants to do.
Perfect.
That's good.
I hope this dynamic collaboration keeps happening. All the best for the future, and it was really an honor to have you on board for this interview.
Thanks, Abhikendo, and I wish Exposition Pictures all the best. And you guys have done a great job in a very short time, in very challenging times also. And wish you guys all the best. I'm sure Exposition Pictures and each one of you members who are working very hard and a very dedicated team will uh, prosper and will succeed in what you're doing.
Thank you so much.